Drawn, take one.
Thanks for being here as part of our series on trial lawyers as storytellers, inspired by the Goodman Theater's production of Inherit the Wind right across the street from our Chicago office.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have a favorite fictional lawyer?
Everybody's going to say, of course, To Kill a Mockingbird was influential, and that probably resonated with me the most. But other than that, no.
What made you become a trial lawyer?
I became a lawyer because I wanted to go into politics. So I went into law school thinking that would be my career. And then in law school, believe it or not, when I did moot court, I just fell in love with the art of standing up and persuading people, and I loved the strategy behind it all, and so altered my plans, and then became a DA for a number of years after I graduated from law school.
So you've tried cases for the government?
Yes.
And for defendants of a variety of businesses. How does your approach to the storytelling change depending on who your client is?
Well, that's a good question. I think trying cases for the government is very different than trying cases representing corporate defendants, which is what I do now. The cases that I tried as a DA, there's a victim, right? And so it's very personal. I think it's very easy to talk to the jury about the person who's been impacted by the crime. One of the challenges representing larger corporate defendants is figuring out, to the extent you can, how to humanize the company. And I think a lot of that is done through focusing on the witnesses who are going to be presenting on behalf of the company. So if you can get a witness to just speak about who they are, right? Where they grew up, who their grandparents were, why it is they work for this company, why they believe in the company and what the company does. That resonates with juries. You have to make them real people sitting in the chair, not just the face of a company.
Have you ever had a witness who is just really unlikable? And if so, how do you present that witness?
Yes. I think you also have to own that in some ways in your preparation. It's probably to your benefit to keep them on the stand less rather than more. But I think that the direction is to be yourself. Pretending to be something you're not doesn't work. People have a very finely tuned sense of when someone's not being authentic. So the overarching principle is tell the truth, but also try to be yourself to the extent you can be. I think the key to witness testimony is really the preparation. The more time you can spend with a witness, the better. But with a bad witness, less is more.
Trial is a team sport. What kinds of direction do you give as the chief storyteller of the team? And how do you maintain morale on teams that you're leading when you're at a trial site?
So one thing I think Winston does really well is function as a team, because there are often many lawyers handling different parts of the case. Somebody has to set the themes and figure out what are the overarching threads that are going to weave through the entire trial. And there has to be a consistency to that because it is a story, and repetition makes a big difference. I had a trial as a young partner with a lead lawyer from another firm who called the entire team together before he did his closing argument and went through it and asked for feedback from everybody. And some of the most insightful feedback were from the paralegals who weren't in the courtroom a single day, the junior associates who had a different way of thinking of something. So I'm a big fan of every afternoon, you all get into a war room, a conference room, wherever you are, and you debrief on what happened that day. Everybody participates in those meetings. You can get incredibly helpful wisdom, and the more you include people, the more invested they feel, and it definitely helps with morale because it can be exhausting, as you well know. I also think it's one of the funnest things in the world to be in a war room with people, to be on this great team where you're all rowing in the same direction with the same goal in mind. I think it's an incredibly fun experience.
Winston has a reputation as a trial lawyer's firm. What does that mean to you?
It is a very well-deserved reputation, and it's borne out by many of the people who you've interviewed, including Dan Webb and George Lombardi and Jeffrey Kessler and others. I joined Winston because of its prowess as a trial law firm. 5 years ago, when I was at another firm, I spent 8 weeks in trial with George Lombardi and a team of lawyers and paralegals. And at the conclusion of that, really wanted to come to Winston. The ethos of being a trial lawyer is embedded in every person in the litigation practice in this firm, from the senior partner to the mid-level partner to the junior associate to the paralegal. It is an ethos that is carried through. Young lawyers are taught how to try cases. It is absolutely integral to the litigation practice of this firm and a very well-deserved reputation.